Well, we interrupt your regular broadcast of the finals of the Super Regionals to bring you a different type of SMITE with SMITE Tactics. Scott Gandy, one of the lead designers on the project, is going to be here to actually do some commentary. He's never done it before, so we'll see how he does.
Hey, it's the second coming of Gandhi Man.
The second Gandhi. The Gandhi Man is back.
The Gandhi Man is back. The
At least for one time only, that's for sure.
Season 1 World type?
No, all the way back then. Well, Season 3 is approaching right now, as is SMITE Tactics. Now, it's in alpha at the moment. Some of the players have had a chance to play, and you have selected 2 individuals to play in the show match.
Yeah, so over the course of the week, we weren't sure who we wanted to play in the show match, and I was trying to feel it out, and originally it was supposed to be SunTouch going up against ShadowQ, and SunTouch had some things come up, and so I was like, well, the next best person is Jeff the Sex Hinla. So on the right-hand side of the screen, you have Jeff Hinla. On the left side, you have ShadowQ. These two guys have been a part of SMITE since, hell, the very, very, very beginning.
Well, the big thing about this as well, when you look at it as well, is the fact they're both support players too. So
they are both
have to be in that position of, they've got no one to support now. They've only got to support themselves and the troops on the field.
Yeah, the fun thing is sometimes people say the supports are the smartest people on the team.
No, I've seen Jeff behind the scenes. I don't know. We'll find out about this one. So obviously, do you know what they're actually going to be playing this? Because obviously at the moment we have 3 decks available for them, correct?
So in case you guys are brand new to SMITE Tactics, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown here. So the game is all about defeating the enemy leader. And we have 3 leaders in the game right now. You have Zeus, which is going to be on the left-hand side, and then you have Ra on the right-hand side. I do believe K1 is Jeff Hinla.
Okay.
Programming.
So Zeus is Jeff Hinla.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, we'll work it out towards the end. I'm pretty sure someone will go over and check for us as well, just to make sure. But at the moment, you can see Zeus is the first one to act in the game. Obviously, he's going to start off with 2 mana and draw 3 cards at the beginning of the game and choose what he wants to do. And there's the response right now, as it is on Ra's turn, I should say. And he's going to drop down the Hot Bastet, one of the most OP cards, in my opinion, in the game.
Oh, no, man. Bastet is great. I was hanging out with Matty Pocket last night, and he likes to call her Meow Mix, and Jeff is actually player 2, and ShadowQ is player 1. So all the way, just to really give this as a beginner introduction to the game. So Zeus is the leader right here. So he starts off with 1 and 18 health. And the reason why he has 18 health is because he's a ranged unit, and so is Ra. Now, what ranged means is that you can actually attack from up to 4 tiles away. And now Thanatos came in. So this is an epic card inside of the game. And Thanatos has a passive called Initiative. And so what Initiative says is, even though you start off and you can't move and attack, you spawned exhausted, you're still allowed to use your ability. So Thanatos is able to come into play and instantly remove a unit.
So the object of the game overall is to kill the enemy leader. Now, Zeus versus Ra is the big key here. Obviously, all the other troops that you spawn, they're all from the same pantheon as you. There is a few neutral creeps in there. But for the most part, all the gods you'll get, if you're playing Zeus, for example, will all be related in the same pantheon to him.
Yep. And so now as we go ahead and switch it over here to take a look at the other player, he's going to spawn down the Brute. So the Brute has Taunt. Now, Taunt says any unit who's adjacent to them, they have to attack that unit. It also stops gods from using their abilities, and you can't move.
Okay. Well, Sobek's going to take a little tumble there. We've seen a couple of that this weekend so far, as that Basilisk is getting weakened down too. But you can see 2 Fist of the Gods in the hand there for, I believe, that Shadow on K1. And at the moment, I mean, Fist of the Gods is an okay card. It can stun multiple targets, but at the same time, it's going to also struggle with the fact that you need some units on the board.
You got to have some. The big thing with Fist of the Gods is, so if you stun an enemy unit, they actually don't deal return damage back to you. And that's something we actually haven't talked about yet, is how the return damage happens. So when a melee unit attacks a melee unit, there's always return damage. That's going to be the red number in the bottom left. The health is in the bottom right. Now, when a ranged unit attacks a melee unit, if they're outside of melee range, they actually don't take any return damage at all.
So what about range versus range? Is it the same sort of story as melee versus melee?
Yes. So whenever a range attacks another range, he will always take return damage. And this is going to be such a tough spot. I mean, he's got so much board clear with Thanatos that he's really just going to be able to poke down this Ra.
Now, we know as well this isn't going to be just a single fact of like one singular map either. You can see these rocks in the map would do influence like mobility through the map. But there's also other maps where there's brush involved as well, where you can actually hide inside it and make it a little bit more tricky.
Yeah, so these 2, we have 2 maps in SMITE Tactics currently inside of the alpha, and these are brand new to the SMITE universe. So we have the Norse map here, and so the Norse map, we were kind of looking at, and we were like, we really just want people to fight on this map. So there's not going to be any brush. But the Greek map, which we'll see in the next game, it plays very, very differently. And that's something that we really wanted to capture the spirit of, is that every single game feels a little bit different. And unfortunately for the Ra, he started off so he started off a little bit too aggressive, and when Zeus moves up and drops a taunt, and you're forced to deal with it, and then he has so much board clear with the Thanatos, it kind of can spiral out of control.
So that was Shadow Cube game 1, I believe. He was in K1, correct?
I already forgot.
Me too. I'm pretty sure he said it was. Yes, it was. So Shadow Q wins game 1. I think we're going to make it a best of 3 because it's going quite quick right now. But Shadow Q really showing that he's one of the leaders of that team as well, to be fair. So he should be pretty good at that.
Well, Shadow Q and I played yesterday for around 3 hours. And
you warmed him up?
Not 3 hours. We played like 3 or 4 matches for sure. And then he was actually playing against Vedium as well. And Vedium just kept getting bodied by Shadow. And he was like, this is so easy. So at the beginning of the game, you see how we go into the mulligan phase. So player 1 starts off with 3 cards. Player 2 starts off with 4 cards, and then in that position, you have the ability to mulligan them and redraw different cards in case you don't really like the beginning.
Well, we got some Odin this time, which means we're going to see some Sol come onto the battlefield. She is ranged, as you can see, but also she's got the opportunity to be able to do a supernova to an extent where she can paint the ground, which deals damage around the area.
That's going to come back to haunt him here.
You reckon? Why?
So he did have Sunder inside of his pocket, and so Sunder would have basically removed the soul immediately. Okay, there it is.
Well, he had enough mana for both there. He had the mana pot in hand, and that came into play because he wanted to make sure he had that available for him. We'll switch over to actually Jeff Hindler's point of view now with the Cursed Warriors being dropped down. These are pretty powerful. 1 mana for 2 1/1s. It's pretty useful.
Yeah, so, at the very beginning, we were trying to figure out what's the best kind of theme for each of the units, or for each of the leaders in each of the Pantheons. And, for Norse, when you think of Norse, you're like, well, they love fighting. Yeah. And so really the whole theme right now around the Norse Pantheon is you want to spawn all these units down, and it's really about swarming their opposition. And as we add more and more cards, you'll continue to see them get stronger and stronger.
Now, obviously, it's high res, so this is a free-to-play game as always, right? But there is a way to get more and more cards. You can buy gems to unlock more packs, correct?
Yep. Right now in the alpha, you can't.
Right.
You can't do that in the alpha right now, but in time, it's going to come. And the other big thing is, so we started in the alpha on Thursday night. And from there, I've already learned so much about, what should be tweaked, what shouldn't be tweaked. The main thing we're going to be taking a look at inside of the alpha, if you actually have access, is the rate at which players actually are gaining favor.
Okay.
And right now, it's a little bit slower. We would like to see it a little bit faster than that. So we're going to kind of tweak those numbers early on Monday and hopefully have something out for you guys who are already in it early next week.
So the big key there is classic situation of high res where we're going to give a free-to-play game where you can just play the game and unlock everything anyway, or you can continue to play and actually invest some cash into it and then get things a little bit quicker.
Yep. Now, so we're taking a look at Shadow Q here, and now Bastet, when I was messing around with her, I was like, she really, when I think of Bastet, I think of getting killed by cats under tower.
Oh, yes.
And so right here, he's actually spawning his cats down. So every god has a unique ability, and these cats, they spawn with charge, and you are able to move and attack with them instantly.
But he didn't use it there. He used it for defense. He's trying to ward off the advance of Odin and the troops there by putting the cats down as more than body blockers here. It's not something you see too often, but it can be useful. Yeah,
so what Jeff actually has to worry about is if he corners himself, you can actually deny the enemy from spawning any units around him if he gets trapped in a corner.
Well, Freya on the right-hand side, they're 3, 3, 4. I believe it's 3 mana for Freya right now, but there's Loki in the inventory as well.
Do it.
Now, what Loki has, which is very useful, is the ability to be stealthed on entry. It wouldn't be Loki if he didn't have stealth.
So he has a unique keyword that's called ambush. And so what ambush says is you cannot directly target this unit when he comes into play. So he really didn't even need to put him down into the brush. He could have just put him right out in the open. But what this is saying is hey, you know what? If you want to deal with him, you have to try, and they actually can't. And so he's like, what is this?
Like how I attack this? Well, he's learning as he plays, and that's one of the best things to do. Now, the other thing you can see on Loki as well, he has an ability which means that he can immediately jump to a target on the map and deal his 5 damage to somebody, and not take return damage as well.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. So with abilities, when you use an ability, you actually don't take return damage depending on it. The only exception to that rule is Thor right now, and we're looking at trying to clean that up, but we're basically guaranteed to see Jeff get off 5 damage here from the Loki.
Now you can see the cards at the bottom of your screen there, the Book of the Dead and Fire Shards as well. The
symbols
around them, does that signify a certain type of card there?
Yeah, so what we decided to do is we wanted to give every single Pantheon their own unique feel.
Hell yeah.
And so right there at the bottom, the Book of the Dead and Fire Shards are 2 legendary spells. And what Book of the Dead does, it says resurrect 3 gods who have died this game, and it works from both opponents' decks.
Oh, wow. So
yeah,
if you just kill their gods over and over, you can just res them at 7 mana and then cause the battlefield to be in a worse state. It's a bit of a closer game this time around, though. You can see Roz in 7.
Man.
And Jeff's actually, well, to be fair,
that was a really good play, because now he actually can't get to the Loki, and he has to deal with him.
Okay, well, we'll see what they can actually do with that as well. You can see the Harpy that a few people who have played the Alpha have been talking about Pardon. Now, talk to me about the ability Pardon, because a few people seem upset about it, but it's okay.
Yeah, right now I kind of like where Pardon is at. So what Pardon says is this unit cannot receive return damage. So when I attack a unit inside a melee range, they just eat my damage and I don't attack back. And it is strong. Yeah. But since there's ranged inside of the game, I really felt that it makes the most sense to have this kind of a passive that you can deal with ranged units, because, you know, when you're trying to traverse across the entire map, you know, you can only move 2 units with the Elder Harpy. And so by that time, you're normally getting poked down by anything that's ranged. So I think it's really, really strong.
Oh, well, you saw that drop down of the Harpy as well. Now, Roz in a bit of a tricky situation here. He does have an even left-hand side with that Bastet Cat that you can move out of the way to give him movement, or with the ability to be able to just walk through your own units, he has got an exit strategy there, which is kind of useful when you know that Odin is melee, and most of his troops, for the most part, are melee as well.
Whew. I think that right there just did it.
This is going to be 1-1, this.
Moving them all into the grass basically says that Odin cannot get vision on them. So in the grass, you have to be adjacent to them in order to deal damage or to reveal them. And Jeff is completely out of cards. So this is where the weakness of Norse comes out.
He's dead.
Is that if he can't draw, it's over.
Well, he's dead already, because look what's in the brush right now.
Oh, yeah.
He's got Neef sat there with a ranged attack, and Jeff is falling 2-0 right now to Shadow Q, whose raw play seems better than some of his players seen online. Woo! Crazy.
I hope Jeff busts out his Zeus deck.
Come on, Jeff. Focus. Goodness me.
It's insane how fast they already picked up the game. Like, I mean, we're talking, they played it yesterday. And if you come from other strategy RPGs, you know, it translates very, very well. And we've added a lot of things that really make that transition very easy. So if you're not sure if you can attack a unit, if you hover on them after you select a unit, you'll actually see that you can move and attack with them. And the game will do that for you. So it kind of just really streamlines the whole process.
Now, it is a high-risk game, and obviously we're in alpha right now as well, Gandhi. Are we getting more codes coming out? Because everyone's talking about it like they all want codes. They all want to play the game.
So at the very beginning on Thursday, we were like, I have no idea how this is going to work. There might be fires everywhere, so we didn't want to open up the floodgates. But I think we're going to start ramping up the amount of codes that we are distributing.
So who should they follow and keep an eye on? Your Twitter, mainly?
My Twitter, obviously Stu. Stu is the key to all giveaways. Yep. He is the guy, so that's at Schism. He gives away everything.
He does
Digital loot packs, games, whatever, you name it.
So keep an eye out for that in the alpha. Obviously, we're going to continue to progress the game. Gandhi will be around a lot more often, I feel, as time goes on, doing more and more work to do with his game as well. If you do have feedback, definitely send it in to us. Obviously, we keep an eye on the new SMITE Tactics subreddit as well. Head over there and give your feedback there too, because obviously, Hi-Rez always watches that stuff. Gandhi, it's been a pleasure today. Any last words before we let you go?
Nope. I hope Eager wins.
Well, let's find out if Eager will win.
Don't let me down, Zatman. Don't let me down.
We're going to go to the analyst desk now then with Evan and start things off on the next game of the final game of Super Regionals.
Thanks,